Good evening, everyone. At this time, I will call the City Commission meeting to order for June 22nd, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. We will have our invocation by Pastor Byron William, and we will follow that with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please, shall we stand?
Let us pray. Most gracious God, first of all, I just want to give you thanks for yet another wonderful day, God. And God, again, we just thank you for how you have truly blessed this city. And we just pray, God, just continue to bless this city, Lord. And God, as we enter into the hurricane season, God, we just pray, God, you protect us from any hurt, harm, or danger, Lord. Because, God, we know that you're able to do all things. And again, we say thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for the city of High Springs. Thank you for each and every employee, God. And again, we say thank you. And dear God, bless us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we can do what's best for the city of High Springs. In your sweet holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Ms. Plum.
Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Jameson.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
All right. At this time, we will move to approve our minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that the minutes for June 8, 2017 be approved as printed. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right, before we move further, the next one says presentation on the
agenda. Are we going to approve the agenda?
Right.
Okay, I skip something every time, don't I? All right. We have any comments on the agenda?
My understanding, we're taking out the presentation
I want to get to it.
of the modification of school concurrency, and then also the
Item 2.
Collective bargaining.
item number two. Is that correct?
Right.
That's what I was about to say.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the deletions that were mentioned.
Second.
Okay. All right. It has properly moved and seconded that the agenda be modified to remove the two mentioned items. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. Agenda hereby approved. All right. With that, now we can move on down to item number 1. Discuss and consider request from WCA for the 2.2% CPI increase.
Mayor, I had a meeting with the drivers and the leadership within the WCA a week ago. And at that particular meeting, they indicated, and we also brought in our staff, and they understood the problems and what was happening. They indicated that because they had reorganized their organization somewhat, that they had new drivers. Talked to all the drivers. They understand what the concerns are. We're going to watch them for the next 2 months before we either award or look at that contract again. The way the contract reads, we have to give them reasons for not giving them 2%. Within the next 2 months, I'll have those reasons or not.
Madam Mayor, the question came to legal as whether or not it was an automatic increase, and it is not automatic. The language specifically says in the contract that we entered into with WCA on April 30th, 2014, that compensation payable to the contractor for all solid waste collection and disposal services hereunder shall be at the rates set forth on Exhibit A and adjusted as follows. For the annual periods of this agreement, see below, the contractor may request a rate adjustment to reflect up to 70% of the increase in the Consumer Price Index as published by the U.S. Department of Labor for the immediate preceding 12-month period, which the city will not unreasonably deny. There is also provision in the agreement that there would be no rate increase between the months of May 1st, 2014 through April 30th, 2015. And so that's the language in the contract. I agree with your manager. It's not an automatic increase, but we cannot unreasonably deny the 70% increase to the CPI index for the preceding 12 months. Now, we have reasonable basis to say, look, we have some problems here and we need to get those problems rectified, and that's what your manager is doing. So that the anticipation is that hopefully these things will be resolved and we can then go under the contract and have a basis to move forward. So I think he's given them a laundry list of items to take care of and in keeping with the contract, Madam Mayor.
And then we'll review it in 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any comments, concerns?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the matrix, now this isn't a feel-good thing, because at the last meeting, I thought it was pertinent that Skip basically made the comment that the last month and a half, we've sort of gotten things together. Well, a month and a half out of 12 months isn't a very good record.
Right.
And so I would want to make sure that whatever matrix we're using in 2 months is significant enough that you could come back and say what has been wrong now has been. So let's say that. But then let's say in the 2 months, because of the contract, we sit there and say, okay, I would like to see something put back in that, let's say in 3 months, they resurface. That this isn't a one-way contract, that if in 3 months it resurfaces, we have the option to go back. If we show you that here's the number of misses, here's the same matrix and the numbers now are digressing, that we have the opportunity, while you have the opportunity to request the raise, we would also have the opportunity to come back and say, look, at the same issues are back here, we're going back. I don't know how we do that, if that's possible, but I mean, my point is it can't be a one-way street, that in 2 months we say good and then it goes to heck again and then, or whatever, and then for the next 10 months, you follow what I'm saying? I don't know how we negotiate that.
So I think that, number one, that shouldn't be on your manager or your staff to develop the matrix. They get the,
I get that.
They get the complaints in, and you know, we can verify it, but that really should be on them. So if you take the 6 months preceding the contract adjustment and you say, okay, for these 6 months we had 30 complaints per month or whatever, and develop your matrix that way. Now for the 2 months that we've been under the consternation of the problem that's going on, or the month and a half plus the 2 months, whatever that is, now we're only having 3 complaints per month or whatever that, you know, whatever that provision is, then it should be on Skip to develop that matrix. I think number one. Number two, we will need to ask him, and because that is something outside of what your contract calls for, as far as if this does not occur and we go back to the 30 complaints on a monthly basis and we're back there, that would impact your ability to get your CPI increase. That would have to be some addendum that we'd add to this contract. There are other provisions in the contract that you can start the line of cure and ultimate.
And so forth.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Which that's another avenue you can proceed if you need to proceed in that way.
I would just like to make sure that the city's protected to the extent that things go good and everything's hunky-dory, so to speak, and then if they start to falter again, then I guess you would tell us what the options would be.
That's right. That's right.
I just want to make sure we're covered to where it isn't. That's all.
Now, we did discover something, and the city is taking the responsibility. When people leave a house and they put all their furniture out front, and they don't call as required by the contract, what we are going to do now, David and his crew, when he sees that, we will then call in on that group, and they come and collect twice a month by contract. And so we will make sure that every 2 weeks we have a list of all those large items that are in front of the house to make sure that if they haven't called, we'll call for them.
Is there something on the utility bill where we were having something right? Because I had that happen. And they did. It was, I think it's the first and third
That's right.
Friday or so. Is that something within the utility bill where we could write that note? I mean, I know we got the long one where we could put notes in, bulk pickup, must call in. Is there something that we can put on?
We can, this should be the last time we have that water letter, and then from then on, we can add
Okay.
other things.
Okay.
In the front,
We
right.
can put it right on the front instead of.
Because that is a rare thing you don't know. And I called, when did they pick it up? And they told me it's the first and third Friday, you got to call in. So if we get to put that on the bill, it just seems like at least we're attempting to communicate. All right. Thank you.
All right,
That'll do it.
that'll do it. Okay, let's move right along. And at this time, we'll open up the floor to the audience for issues that's not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Madam Chairperson, my name is Nancy Linkus. I own a business in town called Back and Balance Natural Health Care. My business is located at 18741 High Springs Main Street, High Springs, Florida. I've had an occupational license in the city for 18 years. I moved out of a building on 441 a couple of years ago due to financial reasons because the cost of maintaining an individual place for my business was eating up everything that I was earning and not creating any income for myself. A year ago, I approached a friend and business colleague at Wisteria Cottage and asked her about renting a room inside her building for my business, and we came to a financial arrangement to do that based on the fact that my business really doesn't have much impact. I do massage. My patient comes in. There's no additional electricity used, minimal water. So recently, she got a letter April 1st regarding a resolution 2017G that was approved and adopted on February 23rd regarding an additional base water and sewer fee for any businesses where there were 2 occupational licenses. There are circumstances in the city where that would be a valid thing, where they actually have separate utility bills, electric bills, separate entrances, and they are separate units. There are some buildings in town that have that. The situation that we have where we are is I literally am like a roommate in her building. Ms. Tugman had that building up for sale when I approached her about renting some space from her, and it was a viable option so I could keep my business going and so she could keep her business going. And now you're penalizing us by adding a base additional $60. I will share with you that I hold another occupational license in this city at my home address, which is over on, 18976 Northwest 240th Street. I pay that license fee every year so that I'm legal. I do my linens for my massage business at that location, and I pay a hefty water bill at that location every month. I have one person living in that house. My water bill is $135 a month because I wash my linens there. I don't put any impact on the building where I'm using the room. So based on that, we're asking you to reconsider on a case-by-case of these situations. In reality, each and every hairstylist is an independent contractor that's paying rent to a landlord, and they should then be paid or charged $60 each. You know, if I had a roommate in my house, then you're saying that I should be charged an additional thing. We are trying to keep our businesses viable, and we're asking for your consideration to not make undue expenses that we can't bear. I just, you know, I can only create so much income. Thank you.
Sharon Tugman, I'm the owner of Wisteria Cottage, and I was curious to find out if the policy of the commission and the city manager is not to respond to emails. I sent Mr. Booth an email on May 1st regarding this issue with the multi-user fee. I sent every single one of you commissioners on May 10th an email, and no one has yet responded to me. And I didn't know if that is standard procedure for how the citizens of High Springs are treated.
I don't recall seeing it myself.
Did you send it to our?
I don't know.
I sent it as a group. I went through and put all the emails together, and Mr. Booth, I sent his individually, and I did not hear from him, so I decided to approach the commissioners, and I have not heard from anyone.
Sorry,
I did not see it.
I haven't seen it.
Look it up.
Okay, and I'm curious to find out, do any of you patronize my business at all?
I do not.
I have not been in there.
My wife does.
Occasionally, yes. So the commissioners don't even support a local business. How sad is that? Yet we're being penalized because we have a business in High Springs. We don't get the support of the manager, the commissioners, yet you're going to penalize us. But it's on a case-by-case basis. A good example is Talented Cookie. They have 3 businesses. They're not being charged this extra $60 per business. But we are. We have 1 meter, we have 1 toilet, and we pay for the water that we use. We're not getting a bonus. And it just boggles my mind that it's okay for you to penalize your small businesses. We're the reason you have a High Springs. We're the backbone of this small town. I've been here for 15 years. 15 years struggling and trying to make it. I just spent thousands of dollars to have my business painted. It looks gorgeous. We have the premier business on Main Street. And it's just sad to me that we're being penalized and that you all don't even support a small business. Thank you.
Mayor James, Commissioners, good evening. Sue Weller. I'm here this evening to give you a brief update on the Rails to Trails project. If you'll recall, the County Commission last year sent before the state legislature a request for $2 million to acquire the rail corridor from Newberry to High Springs and High Springs to the river. The legislature approved that, and the governor vetoed it. At that point, it was somewhat based on a group called the Tax Watch Group, and felt that there were certain procedures that weren't followed. So this year, the County Commission, along with the Trust for Public Lands out of Tallahassee, went through several steps that they felt that the Tax Watch Group would at least recognize. And the county requested $500,000 this year. The legislature approved it, and the governor vetoed that as well. I don't know if it was because of issues raised by the Tax Watch or what, but it was vetoed. I contacted the county and asked them where we were on this acquisition of the rail corridor. And what I'm told is, and I will hand out to you, next week on June 27th, the County Commission will be discussing this issue and will be determining if they will in fact fund the monies to acquire the rail corridor through the wild spaces, public places money from the county's portion. That amount is $3.5 million basically, and that's just to acquire the property. They have the contract with CSX drawn up. The commission my understanding, the county commission has it. Their attorneys have looked at it. The Trust for Public Lands have looked at it. And in fact, the contract will be before them, I think, to proceed with whatever procedures they have to do. And they're scheduling the closing for December 15th, I believe it is. And there's background information here that I'm going to give to you on this. So that you will have what it is as I understand it, that the county commission will be looking at next Tuesday. So I'm here to let you know about that and to request that if you at all can make it, to that meeting to please try and to do so. I think it's very important to High Springs that we manage to convince the county commission to acquire that corridor. If you remember, I think in the CRA budget in the past, we've talked about putting some money aside to build that portion, plus our own wild space, that portion that's in the CRA, and our own wild spaces, public places money. We had identified money as well to go towards that. And in talking to the county planner, he felt that that money, whether it's CRA money or money from wild spaces, public places, would be better spent on building it as opposed to acquiring the land. So I was just here tonight to advise you of that, request your support to to appear before that commission, the county commission, next Tuesday, and if I can, I'll pass this out. Thank you.
Any type of letter, Sue, would it matter if we constructed a letter and sent it?
I think a letter would help as well. I'm going to try to do my best to be there.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker, would it be possible, I don't know, would it be possible to construct a letter in support of this for that meeting?
Sure.
This line?
Sure.
I mean, have the mayor sign it and so forth, and at least put our support.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's June 27th. Sue?
All right.
Can I approach about a different issue and nothing talking about enforcement? My name is Nancy Linkus. I live at 18976 Northwest 240th Street, High Springs. I've been here before to talk to you about Barber's Automotive and a trucking business that the gentleman is running out of that facility, and he is still running the trucking business out of that. I know there's been some changes recently, and that there's an interlocal agreement with the city of Alachua for building official purposes for inspection because Mr. Thomason is no longer with us. I know that a previous meeting, when I watched the minutes, they talked about doing a magistrate for code enforcement, and I think that's a great idea because you always have a hard time keeping enough people on the board. I have been on it for years. My question to you, my urging to you is you have to get a code officer. It doesn't matter if you have a magistrate. If we don't have someone who is doing something, our town looks terrible when you drive through it. And we really need to have a code official, part-time or something. And I ask again that we have to try to do something about the trucking operation at Barber's. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me speak again.
Once again, Mr. Walker, the timeline on that, do you know it offhand?
Oh, I do. In fact, I was going to inform the council, we are going out for an RFQ next week for the magistrate, and we're doing a personnel action next month for the code enforcement.
Okay.
We've identified somebody for the code enforcement officer, and so that's in motion. The person we've identified cannot start before August, so we're kind of limited on that end of it, but as somebody that's very experienced, it's got to be somebody that your manager approves and that sort of thing if he becomes a part-time employee.
But the August type thing would end up jiving with the magistrate because of the process.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
It doesn't, and I'm not minimizing it, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good to have a code enforcer if you don't have somebody who can actually enforce what he does.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
Two of them basically have to go together. But the timeline is in place to do this, what we had talked about. I just wanted Mrs. Linkus to know
There's a
that.
process of several months
And
where
we're-
we notify people.
And we're-
Mr.
we're-
James said it takes 2 or 3 months to get it to a magistrate or a board. But you have to have the code person in
Right.
place or you can't get
So
the legal action.
it's in the process. I just want, it's the process, that's all.
What we've asked for the citizens to do in the past, and Ms. Linkus may be aware of this, is that if you see something that is problematic and not in keeping with the the use that the business is permitted for, to document that time, pictures, date stamp it, get that sort of thing, so we can try to.
If somebody has something right now, who do they call? If somebody had an issue that they wanted to voice up, who would they call?
My suggestion would be to
Up here in my office.
And then who would go out and check it?
Well, either I or Bruce or, and we do that. In fact, we were out today.
Okay, I just want to make sure temporarily there's something there until the person gets.
No, that's absolutely right. And we send out letters on a weekly basis to people, and that starts the process. So that when the code enforcing officer comes in, there's a number of letters that have already been sent out.
Okay. And I know we talked about it. I just want to make sure we're progressing. Okay. Thank you.
Right. If that's it, then I will close the public hearing at this time, and we will move along to new business. Item number 1. Discuss request for a waiver in connecting to city sewer from Ms. Lita Carrera. She's not here.
Me personally, reading through all this, she's got a letter from an ARNP and an integrative medicine clinic in Alachua.
4 years ago.
And then she also has some articles printed off of Wikipedia, which is a great research website, which is kind of sarcastic, stating about the issues she has. I mean, until she produces something from either the Florida Department of Health or a legitimate doctor, I wouldn't be in favor of giving her a waiver for anything. And even if, at that time, if she was able to produce something legitimate, even if we did give her a waiver, I still think she would need to pay the minimum, just like everybody else is going to have to. But at this time, I don't see anything in front of me that would make me want to give her a waiver to not hook up.
Mayor.
Mayor. I did quite a bit of research on this when I received the packet, and you can go online and find a lot of different things, pros and cons to this. I found on WebMD that there is no organization that investigates this, and nor are there any cures. Nothing to go along with it. And they recommend you go very carefully when you're trying different things, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's just not going to work. And there are, as Commissioner Evans, I went to some other sites that say, it can be a fake disease that we're talking about. There's all kinds of stuff out there. And I have some empathy with a person who has sensitivities, because I am fragrance sensitive. There are certain things that will give me an immediate migraine. So I can relate to that. But I agree, without more documentation and a doctor's recommendation having been tested. But again, testing, as I ran into, you really can't test for it, because it could refer to fibromyalgia, is what I read, or lupus, or so it's hard to say for sure.
What we have agreed to, I guess, as a staff, and talking to David and talking to Midtower, is to put a pipe up about 6 feet, and that takes it off the ground, and the air then would take the fumes away. Their position, this from Midtower, is that because there is a septic system out back, you're getting the same kind of fumes you would out of the grinder pump. So we really don't see the issue, but would make sure that there's a 6-foot pipe that goes up into the air to take the fumes away.
Well, I guess I can empathize on the deal, but there's two things here, and I'll be consistent in what I've said since I've been on the commission since 2012. We have a system that we have to get to sustainability. We're taking $225,000 out of the general fund this year to supplement the sewer. One of the main purposes I have when I got on here was whether you like the system or not, we have to get to sustainability, therefore that 225 stays in the general fund. Ms. Carrera signed an easement for the, in 2007, giving permission for it. So along that line, she has it. And I would agree along the lines, I would, engineer the thing far enough away from the house as far as you could, put an extended pipe, or do the ready for serve fee like everybody else, and don't put it in. So, there is no exemption in the ordinance. There is no process in there to do it. The state can't award it. They're going to refer it back to us. I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead.
When are y'all ready to put this in now, or when is it?
Well, we're probably talking about 90 days from now.
Unless she can, in my personal opinion, unless she can produce some type of documentation from a credible medical doctor, preferably from the Florida Department of Health, stating why she doesn't need to put in within 60 days, then we put it in with the engineering differences that our manager said. And if she does produce that documentation within that time, either way, she still has to pay the minimum, just like everybody else is being forced.
Well, to decline to hook up doesn't take a doctor's note. I can just decline it. I don't want it. But I'm paying the minimum because I'm within the 200 feet of the deal. So I'm in agreement with you, Jason, what I'm saying. I agree.
I just say let's give her a timeline. If she can't produce something credible in there, then we just go on what we need to do.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I got a question. I heard you mention it, but I just want to ask the lawyer. So, is there an exemption for anyone not being able to hook up?
This is a statute.
There's no exemption.
There's no exemption. However, and I believe Ms. Carrero put this in her packet, that there's a state statute that allows, if this body makes a determination that for public health reasons there should be an exemption, then you have the authority to grant an exemption based upon the public health issue that the person is suffering from. Now, we do not have a set procedure in our ordinances to react to such a request. So we would, if this commission determines that we want to proceed with the exemption under the state statute, we would probably, and the best practice would be to implement a procedure that gets a medical licensure. You have to work through the public health department to get this done and then provide the exemption. That would be the procedure that we would recommend in order to change the statute and authorize the statutory methodology.
Let me just clarify something, because I want to go back to what Commissioner Evans said. It is irrelevant if you're still going to charge the base fee. So an exemption is an exemption from paying the fee. So I want to make sure we understand that. If you do the exemption, we're saying you don't have to pay the base fee.
And
that's the exemption.
The statute is not real clear on that, but I think that could certainly be something that you implement. We will not connect you, but you still have to pay the fee.
Right.
I think
that's where it is now. We already have that.
Right.
That's in place now.
Right.
With this ready to serve. So we already had that. If you sit there and say, I'm not hooking up, where before we didn't have anything, okay, don't hook up, but you're going to pay the base fee.
Right. Right.
So
it's not entirely accurate with the ordinance. The readiness to serve is, like you said, when you're refusing to connect. You failed to connect, you failed to pay the connection fee, but it is not a waiver or an exemption, and the city still reserves the right to come in and connect you. So
I mean, it's semantics, agreed, but if I
Right,
just
I
sit
mean,
there and say, you're not
I'm
coming on my property, we're not gonna go in there and take the property and do it, we're just gonna apply this fee.
Right, so this waiver, and maybe she's asking for just the fee, but I understood that her waiver was from actually being connected.
That's what I understand
So
too.
you would still charge her the readiness
Right,
to serve fee.
yes, okay. I apologize if I did.
That's okay.
I
I just didn't want
think-
everyone to think that if you failed to connect, that was, the city was giving you a waiver to connect. You're still obligated to connect, and until you do so, you will be charged. a
Correct,
monthly fee.
correct, I said it wrongly, thank you. Correct.
But I would want to see some hard medical evidence either way before
Yes.
we just said, okay, you don't have to connect.
And that's going to be difficult to come by,
And that's,
according to what I've read.
and that's basically what your statute saying from the state of Florida. It's got to be for medical reasons.
Yeah.
Well,
And I say, when I hear say medical reasons,
Say that.
I need something from a medical doctor saying,
this is public
this
health.
is,
Justify it.
yeah, just me saying, I have allergies, so, yeah, we cut all the trees down in High Spring, but,
But all the other trees, man.
yeah, something from a reliable doctor. But I think that solution that y'all came up with, the 6-foot pole should
That's good, yeah.
I think that shows that we're trying to find an alternative.
Yeah, and kind of set it away from her house a little bit further and then.
Engineer it as far away as you can. Right. Okay.
That's enough direction for y'all. You want to do something else?
That's enough, correct.
All right.
All right. Okay, next one, we removed item number 2, so we will go to number 3. It says, consider awarding bid to repave parking area at the High Springs Civic Center.
And this is long overdue.
Yes, it is.
$29,000 is a really good price, and it's from a company that's reputable. And it's staff's recommendation, along with the Public Works, that we accept the $29,000 bid.
Which one of the two? Live Oak or Wilkes?
Wilkes. And this comes out of our monies that we have for the streets. So it's not directly out of the general fund money, it really comes out of the street money.
What would the time frame be?
Time frame, just as soon as you approve it, the company should start.
They'll start pretty quick?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, I've got it. All right, it has been properly moved and second that the bid be awarded to Wilkes. All those in favor, aye.
I got a question. Yeah, I'm sorry. Y'all moving too fast
Hold
for me.
on.
So, Mr. Booth, so that's the front parking lot, also that's side parking lot, correct?
It is. And plus that driveway that they've been talking about that goes into the building.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
So that's-
That back.
in the back
Where the back door is, where,
Yes.
between where the dumps and all that.
where Yvonne has a real problem with.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
You mean Yvonne's got a problem with something?
It's about striping it when it's done. Separate,
Our people strike.
no stripe, okay.
Yes,
Okay. And they'll put the stones back up there to keep people from running into the building.
they will.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then it has been properly moved and second that Wilkes be appointed as the contractor for this project. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, motion carries 5-0. Wilkes will be appointed. All right. The last one is consider resolution 2017-J.
Madam Mayor, I'll read this by its title only. This is Resolution 2017-J, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, relating to the provision of fire services, facilities, and programs in the City of High Springs, Florida. establishing the estimated assessment rate for fire service assessments for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2017, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, providing an effective date. The rates that are under the Appendix A, under this assessment rate schedule, are as follows. The estimate is that it will raise $264,520 by assessing residential property, residential $100 per dwelling unit. Non-residential properties would be commercial at 4 cents per square foot, capped at 40,000 square foot. Industrial warehouse, 1 cent per square foot, capped at 40,000 square foot. And institutional, 7 cents per square foot. It's actually 8 cents per square foot with a cap of 40,000 square feet. The maximum fire services to be assessed and portioned among the benefited parcels would be as follows. Residential, 112. In other words, when you get to the final rate resolution, you cannot go over these rates. So this would be the highest that you could assess in your deliberations and passing the budget and establishing your fire rate resolution, final rate resolution. So the residential would be 112. Non-residential, no. I may have an ordinance or a resolution that doesn't have the numbers then.
No, we've noticed everybody up to 112 at this point. We can go higher than 112, but we'd have to renotice everybody.
Okay, I got you. Okay. So 112 on residential. Commercial is 5 cents per square foot, capped at 40,000 square feet. Industrial warehouse, 1 cent, capped at 40,000 square feet. Institutional, 8 cents, or did it go higher than that, Jenny? 8 cents on institutional, and again, capped at 40,000 square feet. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2017J as read by title only.
Any comments, concerns, questions?
Jennifer, current rate?
93.
So this is just preliminary, right? Whereas you're going to come back to us and tell us what the final one's going to be before it's about to go.
No, this is where we would pick where we want to be, and then we can always drop it from here. Once you set it from here, you can't go any higher. So if you go 100 here, that's it. That's as high as you can go. You can go based off of our noticing everybody. You could say 112 tonight and then get through the budget, and at the last reading, drop it down to 100 and go from there. You could say we're going to renotice everybody and go up to the maximum if you wanted to. That's completely up to you guys. But what we're talking about right now is setting it at 100 and move forward from there.
So you're saying set it at 100 tonight, and then after we get through the budget, we find out we're going to be okay. We could drop it if need be.
My standards, Phil, with the commission at this point is try to go as high as you want to right now without renoticing everybody, and we can always bring it back down to 100, 93, whatever. The manager and I have talked at length. We feel 100 is a good spot to be this year. We believe that's where we need to be coming into it. But I know in the past we've talked about having a little bit of wiggle room in case we needed to make some adjustments. So pretty much your flavor at this point.
Yes.
That the actual final resolution will be passed prior to passing
Right.
the budget will be passed in August.
Okay. All right, we have any other questions, comments? I see Mr. Jameson's turning over
So
there.
you can go 112 without
Renoticing, correct. Only the new occupants or new houses will be notified.
So just consider this. I think we ought to go to the 112 just so you're there.
Okay.
That's mine. And then you can drop it. You can drop it.
Correct.
I just asked the guys to think about this.
Yeah, the only thing that's changing between the 100 versus where we're at right now is about approximate $20,000 increase. 112 would be approximate $50,000 increase in the
Here's my thought on this. Just follow me on my thought on this one here. So let's say you do the 112. Now, I'm hypothetical, folks, and so if you're listening on the thing, say it's 212. The issue would be is that the citizens would know that that money specifically is going to fire. It's not going to the general fund. It's not going to be put over here. It's not going to be put over there. If you go to 112, or if you go to 100, what would you have to do? What would you have to do if we do a rollback rate? Not keep it the same. We roll back the deal. What would we have to do to offset the increase, the $7, which is not much? What would you have to do so the citizens will not actually see an increase in their taxation? I'm going $100 or 100. I'm going 112. But as a citizen, I know that money can't be taken out for any other project. It is solely for the fire department, and it can't be pilfered off.
The rollback rate will give you $40,000 back to the citizens.
From an individual's tax basis, how would that work? So if you're going to tell me that mine's going to go up from 93, say 100, just say 100 just to do it, $7. What has to happen so I don't see an increase in my ad valorem when I get my taxes? I don't see an increase.
You'll actually see a decrease.
And he's right.
If we do the rollback,
If you do the rollback, roughly.
it'll offset that and more.
And more.
Yes, the numbers right now are looking at about 40,000. We have not gotten it, they've not given us the certified amount yet. But roughly right now, it looks like the rollback's about 40,000.
My question on this, which I've always said, if you're going to have a fire department.
But, yeah, on one hand, you have a rollback, but you also have an increased value. So you may not see it because last year, our ad valorem was roughly $1.3 million. This year's going to be $1.4 million plus as new growth and taxable value. So when you do the rollback, it takes that tax base and says, based on that tax base from last year, you still increase. It's still an increase. And I don't want people to think, oh, that's going to go up and this is going to go down, because that's not how it will come out and wash.
But if you sit there and you take the tax thing and you say, what's our deal? What is it? 6.15 or something? Millage.
123.
Yeah, hypothetically. So then 6.12.
Yeah.
So let's say we're not going to raise it like we did last year. We're not going to raise the rate. However, my price is going to go up. If my house goes up, my ad valorem is going to go up.
Correct.
What I'm trying to get at is roll that sucker back to where that person has a legitimate deal that whatever I paid in taxes last year, I will pay the same this year in ad valorem tax. But fire departments is getting money designated for them. Am I making, does that make sense at all?
Yes,
if you can do that.
But when you're taking the rollback, you're rolling back this year's amount to last year's.
I know it's not an exact
And then you're
science.
adding, say now you're at last year's rate because we're doing the rollback. Then now you're adding the extra $7.
But the rollback is you reduce the rate to whatever the rate is to do this, to generate the same revenue.
Right, so it's the overall revenue to the city, so it doesn't necessarily correspond to each.
Okay.
It depends on your house.
It's the rate
Okay.
for the city to get the exact same amount of money.
So if we did, just generally speaking, let's just do this. You go the 112, and you tell the citizens that that's money that's going into the fire department. So the question is, do you want a fire department and a police department? If you don't want a fire department and police department, then that's one thing. If you want it, then you're saying this money can't go anyplace else. But if you do the rollback, while I get up in arms that my fire assessment just went up 109, or just went up
$7.
no, it went from 93 to 112. I'm going the big one. I could do the 7, but I'm good. $19, whatever the deal is. I'm going to see an equally, at least, decrease on the other. They're not going to see a double. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And that's what I would suggest we do. Keep it at 112. Let's see what happens with the budget. Bring it down to 100 if we don't need to. If we can do this, then the rollback. then the citizens actually see a decrease.
And for clarification, that $21 increase is per year, not per month.
Agreed.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
So, and clarify, because Courtney just made a point, we would, because our transfer to the fire department now is less from the general fund. So that money that your boss can add the worm, the rollback, stays there.
Well, we could also, in the budget, because we want to do things differently with the fire department, with full-time versus part-time and volunteers, we could probably keep it there and keep the same amount going to the fire department without having to increase it. Yes,
Yes.
we could do that.
Spot money in the waters, we're gonna vote on whether to do $1 versus $1.12. Or $100 versus $112. Let's just keep it simple.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm stupid. I grew up here, I went to school.
Yeah.
We have to keep it simple.
And we're really saying, even if you vote for the 112,
112 is just the maximum.
it's just the maximum.
In case worse comes to worse, we can take it down.
And we have the work,
normally do.
yeah, and then we have the workshops, we can certainly talk about everything we do.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. Is that it? Any more comments, any more questions?
We don't have to motion anything, do we?
Motion,
Yeah, you
resolution.
gotta-
You gotta adopt the resolution.
Yeah.
Make a motion
At
to adopt
112.
resolution 2017-J as presented.
At 112.
No, as presented is
I thought we had the 100 as the 112 as a maximum.
right. Which one are you adopting it at now? The 112 or the 100 for the preliminary?
112.
You gotta go 112 now.
112.
Okay, then we need to say that because the one in the packet was
I didn't package y'all got, because one else said. Anyway, passed resolution 2017-J with the $112 residential. With the rate that has the $112 residential and the rest that are in section 8-2, the estimated fire service assessment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
She shook her head yes, so.
You know, second it.
Is there a second?
You could drop the thing all the way back to $93 if you wanted to at the
On the
end,
final.
because you can go, at the final, you could drop it all the way back.
But this one I have to send to
Yes.
Viv, it has to state that amount, and it has to state the 298,904 amount rather than the 265.
Right.
Okay.
Also, Jenny, they need to address the commercial rate. Is it going to be at the 5 cents or 4
It'll
cents
be at the same, in that box.
in that bracket?
Whatever the rates that are in that box.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and second that resolution 2017-J be approved at a rate of $112 and follow the chart in the resolution. Okay. All right, is that it? All right, all those in favor?
Yeah.
Mayor James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Jamison,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
All right, right. Motion carries 5-0. All right, moving right along. City Attorney report.
Madam Mayor, I didn't have anything. Is there anything, Courtney? Nothing we can talk about in a public setting.
Oh, all right. City manager.
See, that sounded almost good, teacher, that last.
Yeah, I know. I cut a number of things as always. First thing is the attorney and I will look at our ordinances when it comes to multi-users and those people that are doing business, especially in their homes, that do not have customers coming to those homes. We'll look at GRU and that, so we'll certainly look at it. And I'm sorry you didn't get your email. I do have a secretary that looks at all of those, and she responds, and I don't know where that got missed. There is a letter from the North Central Florida Regional Planning Group. They're looking for the council to appoint a non-voting member to that council. And so I thought we appointed you, but then you're going.
No, I'm a voting member. It's just I only get to go about twice a year.
I know. Now we need a
High Springs was allowed to have a non-voting member that went and represented us, but they didn't get to vote on any of the resolutions.
Right. So it doesn't need to be a council member.
It can't be a council member because we meet the same night.
All right. So
that's why
staff will come up with a recommendation. Staff will come up with a recommendation.
I vote on Jen.
Yeah. No, she can't. We all have to meet here too. So, anyway.
So well.
Okay.
There we go.
She'll never come to another meeting.
They have the like 4 times or 5 times I've been there over the course of my career. They have a great dinner. They do, and they pay you per diem to come. So.
Yeah. All right. All right. The city received a bid for $66,000 on the house, and we've already received the check. I forego my realty fees on that one. So.
You really meant that, didn't you? That was quick.
Yeah. We received 2 more homes. We're going to receive a lot more in the future because there was a backlog for about 10 years, and so they're starting to come through. They give the homes to the county, and the county by state law has to give the homes to us. One of the homes probably valued at between $18,000 and $20,000. You were going to get some pushback, but we've already gone to court on one, and the judge was very clear that neither he nor the city has the legal right to give anybody a home. Now this lady is a widower. She's elderly. The house is, like I say, probably not worth much more than $18,000 to $20,000. I don't understand how she owes taxes, but whatever happened, and they took the house away and they gave it to the city. The other house has been on our list, and I'm sure many of these houses will. For code enforcement, we'll now take action and tear it down because we own it. And so, and we will probably get more of those.
Do we know how much the taxes are on that?
Ma'am, there isn't any because they already took it away.
Oh, okay.
She should have gotten a homestead exemption, and I don't understand that, but it doesn't really matter because the action was already went through.
Okay.
And maybe an organization could do a fundraiser or something. I'm sure if the neighborhood feels that strongly, then they can do a fundraiser. I'm in the process of appraising the High Springs. Once the appraisal is there, then we'll have Grunder both do the deed for the $66,000 home that we sold and for the property we're buying for the High Springs. And that should happen fairly quickly. Doing an RFQ for an environmental engineer. And so we'll go out and look for engineers that can design that project, get all the permits, do the RFPs and such as that. Have a commitment from the Suwannee River Water Management District for up to $400,000 on that project. We're getting quite a bit of money for that project, so we should see a significant improvement. Now, you have a picture here I gave you. The first one you have shows there's an actual spring 10 years ago, and it actually exists there. Right now, the second page shows you that everything is overgrown. And so that all needs to be cleared out, and then you'll have a nice pond to show for it. The chief is going to do a prescribed burn to kill all the ticks that are out there. The ones that didn't find me, we need to destroy. I think I cleared out most of the ticks when I was out there. Anyway, the park is going to be the parks are going to be inspected at least 2 times a week. We find that not enough attention has been given to the parks, and now they're going to be inspected. And I'll do one of those. The census is coming, and I went to a census meeting here last week, and what they really said was that the mayor will get a letter in July, but the real kickoff is going to be in 2018. And this is going to be a different type of census than before. First of all, people are going to fill out the census forms on the computer, and they won't get a paper one. We have to verify their maps. And so I'm giving that to Angela, and Angela then will draw staff members and whatever she needs to help her. This is a major undertaking, is the census for the city. And what they're saying is, you have this one opportunity in 2018 to make everything right. If it's not, shame on you, because they're not going to go through that process of appealing or whatever. It is what it is. For us, the difference is that we're receiving money at the 5,200 population, and this census should bring us to 6,200, which will mean in excess of $400,000 per year. And that's quite a bit of money over 10 years. That's $4 million. It's worth doing the effort for the census to make sure everybody is counted. And we will do that. Because, as I say, there is no appeal system. They're doing, it's that they don't have the money as they had in 2010. And so they have streamlined the system.
Is there a way that we can get the census convinced that we're over 6,000, but keep Combined Communication Center convinced we're under?
I wish. Well, yeah, we have a. Okay. Yeah, we have a process for that. Yeah, for negotiations. We have been given a request by the city of Newberry to take over their resource officers for that. They have agreed that they will do the crossing guards. And so I'm just bringing that to the council in case you hear anything. We're not trying to pull any wool. You would have to do the interlocal agreements anyway. So we're in that process. Jennifer is really putting the numbers together. It cannot take any resources from the city. I mean, that is one of the major issues. And so we would probably, on top of the resource officers, have a sergeant that is in charge of the resource officers as part of the infrastructure. We've had a request from, this was held a week last week, from La Crosse, and La Crosse wanted our fire department to take over their fire department. That was impossible. Branching out. That really couldn't happen. We can't take, because they don't have the resources, the funds, even trucks, to be able to operate within what the state requires, with two in, two out, or 4. We can't take our resources and give them to us without hurting our own ISO ratings. So we offered them that they could come and help train with us, but that's about it. And so I don't see that department lasting much longer. Next week, I'm going to send out or within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to send out a letter to those people that the Phase A1 sewer system is going to be in effect in the southern portion of the city. And so I'm sure you will probably get calls or whatever, but it'll just be saying that within the next 6 months, we're going to come in and put a new sewer system.
How many?
This time is 180, and then phase 2 will be the additional 120.
Is this within that 3.5? Is that, where is the funds coming from? Which grant?
The first grant.
The first one?
We're doing the second grant now. So, I mean, it takes a while because it's so much money. It has to go to the state. They have to approve it and all that. But we're in that process of doing that. And then we're going out for an RFQ for a magistrate. We're doing the hiring action for the code enforcement officer. So it's a busy time. Things are going fairly well, and no major problems. That's it. I could add more.
All right, Commissioner Jones?
No comment.
Commissioner James?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Williams?
Got a couple here. We go back to the Civic Center parking lot. Make sure you handicap parking now.
Yes.
But how many you think you're gonna put out there? I think it's just only 2 now.
2, that's right.
Is it 2 or 3? I think it's just 2. If maybe
There is a formula that we'll look at. Yeah, our LDC, and so whatever requires the handicap along with the ramp, we'll make sure that that's marked out that way.
Okay, and we'll make sure we put signs up.
And we'll put the signs up.
Okay, because I don't think something up there now. Also, just to follow up on the young man that's doing the RV storage down here. I see he done started work, so he's done all his I's and crossing all his T's, doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, I saw that.
Doing what?
The guy with the RV storage. What's his name? Yeah. So I see he done started.
Yeah, he sure
He
did.
cleaned up. He started.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And he's already got some stuff on the site.
We're still reviewing some of those files. I don't know that nobody ever gave me a heads up on that everything was approved.
It was
He doing
clear.
construction. He got the bulldozers out. He done put the fence up
Yeah.
and.
Okay. We will certainly deal with that Monday, along with the building inspector.
It's on our desk right now, actually. We're looking at it. We've got to go. Let's get it.
Right.
Okay.
The issue really was how he was going to access that property from the state road or from that road. We told him he could not do it from the road without going back to the planning and zoning board.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put a stop work on it if that's the way it's being built. I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
And also the buffering he's supposed to put up around there with the.
That's right.
Okay. Also on, I don't know the streets, 9 High Springs, shame on me, but old 9th and 4th on the corner there. What's his name?
Jackson, yes.
Huh?
There's been a letter sent.
Okay. Because he ain't.
Yeah, there's been a letter sent. I looked back at property.
Right.
Yeah, because like you're bringing more stuff in.
I know. He's a good reason why we'll have a magistrate who then can enforce the fine.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
The only thing I would like to mention is I'm seeing some issues with that multi-use ordinance that we passed. I would like to bring it back, not a meeting, a workshop, but I think we could do it in a meeting. I do think there's some issues with if you have your business ran out of your house. I don't think you should have to pay both a residential and a commercial. Pick one or the other, have them pay it. If you've got multiple businesses in the same business and you own all of the businesses, I don't necessarily think you should have to pay for each individual business when there's only one meter. Now, as far as the multiple businesses running off of 1 meter, I'm thinking that's the area that we pass that ordinance for, when the businesses are not related and they're not owned by the same person. But I do think it's something that we do need to revisit, talk about, and maybe refine a little bit. I'm not real wild about some of the results from the passage. So I don't know if next meeting or when we can schedule it, but I would like to talk about that a little more.
We will. The attorney and I are going to sit down and look at it and look at other examples throughout this area, and we'll be able to take it back and look at it.
Okay. And that's all, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to do that myself. So
Every once in a while,
Yeah.
a blind hog can read up an acorn.
So that's good. Thank you for that. All right. And I see we're getting some new light bulbs in our street lights.
We are, and that was a project we started 2 years ago to upgrade those so they'd be more energy efficient, and that then reduces the bill from Duke Energy, and then that money also could go into parks and recreation.
I like them. They are really, really bright.
Yes.
Yes, they are, but I like them.
And they take a whole lot less energy.
All right. There's two good reasons.
Technology.
All right. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. Meeting's adjourned.